What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another rendition, another episode of Studying Cinema with Cozy. Today, we will be discussing and studying the movie named Pearl, directed by Ty West slash T West. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name correctly, but yeah, the movie did come out in 2022, so I know I'm kind of late, getting around to it, but it's been a movie that I've been anticipating to see for quite a while, just never really got around to it, but over these past couple of days, I've been able to tune into it and really digest the movie for what it was. And honestly, it's become one of my favorite A24 movies, I should say, because of the cinematography, the story, the acting, everything is kind of like unique and stellar in its own way. And a lot of that has to do with the lead actress in the movie, Mia Goth. And as some of you may know, Pearl is a part of a trilogy, the X trilogy that Ty West is at the helm of when it comes to directing. And he orchestrated a trilogy that revolved around Hollywood, the greed for fame, and the lust for, I should say, rather than greed, the lust for fame and everything that comes with it. You know, Pearl is a prequel to the movie X, but X is the first movie in the trilogy where we see an older version of Pearl at an elder state. So the movie Pearl is a, reflection on Pearl's younger life and how she became to be the woman that we see her depicted as in the original first installment of X. So Pearl, the whole story with her is, she grows up in the early 1900s, on a small farm with her family, and she has big dreams of being a star in film. She's not necessarily exposed to a whole lot because of her living conditions. She's kind of, confided in just working on the farm and, going to the town or the city whenever she can to do, little chores or whatever. But she doesn't really have a life outside of the farm for real because her dad is sick due to the Spanish flu, and her mom, is taking care of her father, also taking care of the household as well. So Pearl has to chip in with her time and energy as well when it comes to that. So with all of that being said, you can see how there's a split and a divide with the life that Pearl is faced to live and the life that Pearl wants to live. And, because of this divide, we see her spiral more and more throughout the film, whether it's, her relationship with the significant other that she ends up temporarily falling for in the film, or if it's the relationship with her parents, all of these things start to spiral out of control because of this divide of her having to basically live two different lives, wanting to live one life and being forced to live the other. And her insanity, causes her to end up in the same predicament that she wanted to get out of or was fearful of ended up in. So it's a real interesting story that is captured in a way that's very appealing to the eye. It has that old school type of grainy feel, that eye popping, the colorful feel that movies like Wizard of Oz used to have, but it's still fresh and modern for the times that we're living in today. So stylistically, it's a very good looking film. And as far as the acting, Mia Goth, like I said, she really, gives it her all in this film when it comes to her depiction of Pearl. You can see how slowly she starts to tread off into you feel me, like basically the unhinged, she becomes more and more unhinged throughout the film. We start off with her and these few scenes of her being on the farm, I should say, and just, seeing exactly how she makes up her time throughout the day. She does have a lot of instances where she does weird things like, she'll kill a chicken in the farm and then go dump it off in the swamp so the alligator can eat it. Or she'll go fantasize with the scarecrow in the middle of the field because, you know, her husband is off at war. So she's not really getting the type of attention or love or care that she's seeking. You know, her husband's gone. The mother is sort of kind of neglecting her and her feelings because of the situation they're all in overall, with the father being, you know, sick and not being able to do anything physically or even speak, you know. So there's a lot of pressure on the family, and you can see how the unchecked trauma through generations affects Pearl mentally, because she doesn't really have a way to really vocalize how she's feeling until, you know, the very end of the film when she has her monologue with her cousin. But, you know, Pearl is a character that's filled with, you know, she's poured a lot of negativity and hate and resentment is being poured into her when she's trying to give out, you know, the best version of herself, and coming to realize that the best version of herself isn't even what's going to get her out. You know, she wants to be this star, this, you know, personality, someone that's appealing, someone that's, you know, fantasized over, lusted over, loved and cared for. But, you know, those things that she's seeking, she's not able to find it in return through the people that she's, you know, through the people that she's pouring it out onto. And that all has to do with, you know, the balance of her, like the balance and the relationship between her and her mom, and the energy that both of them kind of play off of each other. There's a lot of resentment and there's a lot of misery within both of them. You know, the mother is miserable because she's forced to take care of her father, take care of Pearl's father for basically the rest of her life. You know, she states that when she married this man, she did not envision her living this life where she had to take care of him and, you know, wipe his butt, feed him, do the whole nine, you know. So she's living a life of misery. And oftentimes we see how misery loves company. In certain cases, we see how people who are in miserable situations like to bring other people down. Pearl is viewing it that way, but in a sense, you know, it's a case of the reality that everyone in the family is forced to deal with, and not just something that Pearl is, you know, having to overcome. You know, from Pearl's perspective, she's fighting an uphill battle of, you know, getting the mother's approval, getting out there into the world and overcoming her inner shyness, overcoming, you know, everything that's kind of holding her back within herself to be the version that she wants to be of herself. And Pearl's mother is seeing Pearl basically distracted, in a sense, you know, distracted by everything that in the end won't even matter in the grand scheme of things to her specifically. Pearl wants a better life than the life that she's already given on the farm. And, you know, there's a lot of resentment from the mother on that end as well, because, you know, the mother does not feel like, you know, she's beneath Pearl. And she, you know, people often mistake others wanting to better themselves as them looking down on them. And that's not the case all the time. But there is the family dynamic that they have causes there to be a misunderstanding, miscommunication, and just a missed opportunity to really understand the mindset of one another, because Pearl and her mother are kind of alike besides the way that they cope with their miserable lives, basically. Pearl is, you know, going down the path of taking her sadness and aggression out on animals and others. And, you know, her mother is basically just internalizing everything and just moving around in misery and on a low vibration from the outside looking in. As we could see, Pearl is the one that's kind of more so jolly and everything throughout the film, but she's the one with the darkest side. The mother is viewed as the one with the darkest side, but she's the one that's actually compassionate enough to put her life aside to take care of Pearl and the father. So there's a balance there that isn't being met, when it comes to how they how they view each other and how they kind of, you know, perceive the other's choices. Although Pearl has an odd way of, handling her mental issues by, going the Jeffrey Dahmer route as far as killing animals and then eventually people. Um, she's still suffering internally and mentally still, because I could honestly see the relation with Pearl and how you could want something in your life. You could see something for yourself and you could be very passionate about something and you could see it clearer than anybody else can see it. But when you start to confide in those feelings to those people that you deem closest to you, sometimes they do not view that same passion the way that you view it. They may view it as something that's lower than you and even beneath you and themselves. They may start to view you as someone that's useless or someone that's, not focused on the right things because of the things that you're passionate about. And it starts to play into your head as far as whether or not you feel like you're good enough. Some people go down a route of feeling like they're not good enough because of the words that other people say, and then coming to realize that they are good enough. Some people fight against those words to try to prove those people wrong and then end up losing sight of the passion that they came to terms with in the beginning. So now, the people have won in the end, because once you lose sight of the passion, that's when the failure starts to come in. Pearl, in a sense, I do feel like she genuinely did want to win this competition that, she enters in the movie to become, the next pageant star. But when you mix those emotions of wanting it for yourself and wanting it to prove others wrong, your mental state is altered by that, and the way that you move and act upon those things is altered, because you're no longer doing it simply for the love of the game. You're doing it to, overcome something else that you have set within you now, that need for approval from other people. Pearl did seek approval from others a lot without even saying it, but it's apparent through everything that she kind of puts her energy into. The interest in the porn industry, the interest in simply just being famous without any reason at all. It's all for attention and to seek the love and the care and the passion that she wants from the people that's closest to her that she's not able to receive. Like I said, her husband is at war, and that her mother and father are in a situation where they can't sustain their life, so she has to revolve her life around theirs. And, overall, I feel like the message within this movie, it speaks a lot about the family dynamic as far as love and passion, and exactly what I said before about blurring the lines between doing it for yourself and doing it for other people's approval, and how the dynamic of other people's words and their relationships with you can alter your mental state when it comes to your life path. And in the end, everything is not meant to be the way that we particularly see it to be. There may have been a way for Pearl to get into industry without having to go as far as she did when it came to neglecting her family and her parents. And it also could have been a way for her to still take care of her family and still pursue her dreams in the end. But we would never know, because of that factor of wanting to prove others wrong and always wanting to seek approval. Pearl's mother in the movie said that she said something along the lines of accepting what you have in this reality and just, being content with it. And, sometimes life isn't more than that, in itself. Sometimes you just have to take on the responsibility that life gives you sometimes, and then just move accordingly rather than, always running away from the truth. A lot of people overall don't want to face the truth when it comes to certain situations, so they end up resorting to other things and, drowning themselves in other things. That's what Pearl was doing in a sense in this film, not coming to terms with the life that she was living on this farm with her family in this situation, her husband gone, and her need and want to be something bigger than where she was at. You know, she pushed herself in the wrong direction, even though it all came from a place of pure, genuine joy and pure, genuine want to be something better in life. So in the end, I do really like this film. I feel like this is it's gonna be one of those cult classic horror suspenseful type of films. Like I said, it's got a unique look and feel to it. So I do honestly think that it's gonna stick around and it's gonna have its moments in the future where people start to bring it up and reminisce on it, especially with the fact that it's part of a trilogy now. And the other following movies like X and Maxine, they tell the story with Mia Goth, acting as the main character through another character's lens. That character's name is Maxine. So in all three movies, Mia Goth stars in them. There is a difference between her acting with Maxine and in Pearl, because obviously those are two different characters, but they also parallel each other. But the slight differences that she makes within those characters when it comes to her acting and how she displays these characters is something to commend. A lot of people don't necessarily have that range to still be on that fine line of having two characters be parallel to one another, but also having them feel different from one another. So she does a good job with that. Me personally, I do enjoy the film Pearl more than X and Maxine at the moment, but that may have something to do with the stylistic choices that they used in the film compared to X and Maxine. Even though all three of them look great and feel perfect for the type of film that they're telling, I do feel like the uniqueness of Pearl is something that makes it stand out from the rest, and the storyline and the pacing of the film is something that makes it, almost kind of the perfect film within the trilogy. There's not really much more I could say. You feel me? I really don't even got any negatives. Every movie has its negatives here and there, but it ain't really nothing too crazy for me to even shine light on. Like I said, I do feel like this movie will stand the test of time within this audience. And yeah. With that being said, I want to thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Studying Cinema. I'll be back, you feel me, with another episode real soon. I'll be putting up a poll on the Cozy Candids Instagram page so you guys can vote on the next movie review. Make sure you guys vote, tune in, like, subscribe, and comment. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. You got potential.